Chapter 14, Kit. So now everyone knows, David Drucker is hot. Once you look at him, like really look at him, which I did that first time in the bleachers, it's so obvious. You are amazed you haven't noticed it before. Like one of those weird optical illusions that my mom likes to show me on Facebook. Is that why you've been sitting with him? You knew there was, this freaking hot guy underneath all that hair? Annie asks. She and Violet are so excited by the revelation that is David. They are practically vibrating. We are between periods, standing in our usual spot by my locker. Throngs of kids squeeze past us in the halls. I shake my head. I guess we shouldn't be so surprised. Because Lauren Drucker is stunning. It's unfair. But still, David? David? David is... Sorry, to be honest, I'm not sure what I think about David's transformation. He now feels somehow less mine, as if he has exposed what was once small and private, a secret we shared, to the rest of the school. A haircut, and now Gabriel and Justin are bothering us at lunch. Not Gabriel and Justin. Alright, all I want is for everyone to leave us alone. I just think he's interesting, I say. I chose David's table for his silence and for his refuge. I keep going back because it turns out I like being around him, and even though I'm not sure exactly why. I guess I'm not being fair about his new look. Good for him that other girls will notice him now. That his world will grow bigger. It's not his fault that I'm desperate to keep mine so small. Interesting. I forgot how to do the teenage bratty voice. Interesting. Like the Hemsworth brother. That's not how I do. Interesting. Like the Hemsworth brothers are interesting. What am I doing with the voices? I used to be able to do them. Interesting. Like the Hemsworth brothers are interesting, Violet says. Whatever, he's still weird though, Annie says. I did that in normal voice. I'm completely failing on these voices, by the way. Good weird, I say, and they both look at me like I've lost my mind. Maybe I have. Though not about David Drucker. I consider explaining everything to my friends. Finally, coming clean. Telling the whole story of his nightmare from beginning to end. But I can't. There's some words we are not allowed to say aloud. I don't know how to explain that I spent the weekend in my bedroom because my mother and I are no longer on speaking terms. That my mother betrayed my father, had an affair. A word I hate because it sounds so harmless. Like she threw a cocktail party. Not like she screwed my dad's best friend. I don't know how any of the past 5 weeks actually happened. It still doesn't feel real. I keep repeating it in my mind, as if it will eventually make sense. My mother had sex, probably repeatedly with Jack. When my father found out, he was devastated and was planning to leave her, or us. I don't know. Now he is dead. The first 2 facts are in no way related to the third, and yet they are coming lead forever in my brain and playing continually on repeat. A triple whammy, folks! Maybe I should just say these words out loud. I no longer have 2 parents. That's the shorthand version. Until recently, I thought I was the exception. I had a happy family. I don't know what I have left now. I get that I'm being melodramatic. After all, I'm pretty sure Annie's father's cheated on her mom, and Annie didn't have a mental breakdown. Her dad moved in with his assistant the same week he left their house. And though Annie still blurped off about the whole thing, she lets him buy her guilt presents and stays at his new place on alternating weekends. She says the whole arrangement isn't so bad. Is it different when it's the mom who does the cheating? It shouldn't be, and yet I don't know. I'm so angry at my mother that I found myself punching the wall last night. My knuckles are bruised and red. They don't hurt as much as I wish they would. That seemed to be the paradox of grief. There is only so much pain, and yet sometimes when I need to feel it, it's not nearly enough. Oh boy, that's edgy. Has he asked you to prom yet? Annie asks, but I'm too lost in thought to answer. I'm imagining my dad finding out about my mom and Jack. How had that terrible scene played out? And were there tears at the funeral real? Was it grief or guilt? My mother knocked on my door a bunch of times over the weekend, and again this morning, when I didn't get up on time for school. I ignored her. She texted too, variations of, "Let me explain. Can we talk? I'm sorry." I wondered if she sent those same texts to my dad before he died. I'm sorry. I check his phone, but it's going along with everything else. Pulverized. Or maybe I have the story all wrong. Maybe my mother was psyched to divorce my dad and start a whole new life. No doubt I've learned in the past 5 weeks that my mom has a complicated relationship with the truth. No lie is too big. She'll lie about anything. What? Who? Hello? David Drucker? Prom? Annie repeats. No, of course not. I'm not going. Violet shoots me a concerned look. I ignore her. She's waiting for me to get with her regularly scheduled program, to return to the land of normal. I don't know how to tell her I'm never coming back. First, you're like bailing on editor-in-chief, and now you're not even going to the prom? Violet asks. I don't answer because it doesn't feel like a question. I know it's been hard or whatever, but you've got to go at least try having some fun again. It's a mix between the edgy teen and southern. I like it. Violet says. I shrug. Because prom doesn't sound like fun to me. It sounds like torture. I want Gabe to ask me, Annie says in a confiding tone, and Violet and I pretend like we didn't know this already. That it hasn't been obvious for months. This is what good friends do. Or maybe not. Maybe I should take a page out of David's book and just say it is. Gabriel is a jerk. Annie, you can do better. So much better. Gabriel is the human equivalent of insert generic, almost but not quite popular high school boy here. There is nothing particularly interesting or appealing about him. Even when he's rude, like he was to David today, he's boring and unoriginal. He gets all his dimension from standing next to Justin, who, albeit also a jerk, is at least a clever one. Why don't you ask him? I decide... Oh, sorry. That was Kit saying that. Why don't you ask him? I decide this sounds like a good alternative. A way to put control back into her hands. If he says no, screw him. Life is short and cruel, and we shouldn't waste a single second of it worrying about stupid things like school dances. Of course, yes, Annie should ask Gabriel to the prom. And I should what? Move out? Never speak to my mother again? Kiss David Drucker? Kill myself. That's another part of the sentence. I'm not brave enough for any of it. I'm only brave enough to sit at a quiet lunch table, to hide in my bedroom, to pretend to my friends for only 10 minutes at a time that everything is... that I am okay. I just don't want to go with him. I want him to ask me. Duh! Annie says, and peers into my locker, as if its dark, woefully underdecorated depths will tell her something. It doesn't matter. I bet he's going to ask Willow. I'm getting a little tired of those girls, Violet says. I'm so over them, Annie says. Kid, they show up at Pizza Palace every day now, and they act like we're not even there. Like Justin and Gabriel are their only friends. As she speaks, she somehow conjures them up. And Willow, Jessica, and Abby walk by. They don't say hello, they just pick up their hands in a silent, simultaneous wave, like they choreographed it. Annie, Violet, and I used to be in sync like that, I think. But not anymore. Another thing that's my fault. I overheard them talking about David Drucker, Violet says, interrupting my thoughts. Everyone's talking about DD. Oh, this is Annie. Everyone is talking about DD. That's what they're calling him now. DD, Annie says. I don't ask who they are. Again, she works her magic. Because suddenly David appears. He walks... That's stupid. He walks by, his headphones covering his ears, his eyes fixed straight ahead. And he doesn't see us. He's obviously off in his own world. So I can get a good look at him without getting caught. His hoodie pulls across his broad shoulders, and he's muscly under there. He smells good too. David's lemony, fresh, sweet. Is that an outline of a six-pack? I ask. Never noticed that before. All right. Never noticed that before, Violet says. Yum! And he adds after he passes, her eyes now fixed on his butt, which is showcased in perfect jeans. I mean, just yum! Oh my god. My phone buzzes in physics, and I sneak it out of my bag and glance at it under the desk. David, busy after school? I glance back at him. For a moment, I forgot how different he looks, and I'm all startled all over again. My stomach clenches, and he's not wrong. He's delicious. Nope. What do you have in mind? David, first we need to feed you. Me, Kay. David, then we start the accident project like we talked about. Right, the accident project. David's idea to help me figure things out. Is there such a thing as Masochists Anonymous? Masochists Anonymous? Because I clearly need to go there pronto. I look at Mr. Schmidt. I don't want to listen to him drone on about Newton's third law and stare in suspense as I wait for that little flake of tuna fish stuck to his mustache to fall. I'd much rather be out of class, eating with David, and even, yes, undertaking the accident project, as sick as that may be. Me, let's go now. David, now? But physics! My hand raises in the air. An impulsive move, and I talk without waiting for Mr. Schmidt to call on me. I'm going to the nurse, I say assertively, as like I'm not asking for permission. I pack my books and my computer, and walk out the door. My brain is still a few steps behind my legs. Better make good use of my one short life. I leave it up to David whether he wants to follow me. Kit, you're such a bad influence on David. David was such a good guy. All right, that's the end of that one, fellas and gals and that's not a good word. All right.